3:57 a.m. It's not even bright. It's just freaking early.
Yep. And cold and early.
I have 5 layers on, even though it's like 50 degrees. I don't have my pants layer on. I got my pants layer on. So I don't want to repeat yesterday's mistake of not wearing enough layers and then being cold all day.
Yeah. So we're not quite comfortable doing night passages yet. So our compromise is to wake up at 3 in the morning and start sailing then. So
yeah, we don't want to anchor at night. That just I've already have other anchoring trauma from tricky times. So
we ended up having some issues, navigation issues or whatever, electronic issues. We'll go into there. So we were making a 3-day passage from Wrightsville Beach to Charleston, South Carolina.
yeah.
But the first day got scrapped, and so we did a longer day yesterday, and we're going to do a really long day today.
14 hours.
14-ish hours.
Trying to get, like I said, I don't want to anchor at night, so we're trying to get to Charleston by 6.
We'll see. Maybe the wind will be good. It's 95.6 miles or so.
It's the entrance of the bay, and then it's another like hour to where we're gonna anchor.
So we'll see how it goes. This friggin' sucks. That is what's left of our spinnaker. We had a catastrophic failure of our endless furler coming into a jetty in high winds, and we were trying to furl and it didn't furl, and it just, god damn. That day was absolutely terrifying. So we were out going from North Myrtle Beach, planning to go down to Charleston. So we started off sailing. The seas were a little rougher and the wind was a little heavier at first, but it was still manageable and working out okay. It was a cold few hours in the dark, but it was going along okay. But then coming around 7:30 or so, it just started getting wavier and wavier as the sun was coming up.
The conditions were way, way worse than what predicted.
Kids were starting to throw up and just getting seasick and everything.
It became pretty clear that we needed to take our bailout spot, which is going up a river to this place called Georgetown.
So we decided to pull off into an inlet in the ICW and travel the rest of the way on the ICW where there wouldn't be the waves at least. And so we went to pull off into an inlet going over by Georgetown, South Carolina. And so we were sailing on the code 0 the whole morning, and we were getting ready to furl the code 0.
So we get to the jetty area, turn in a little bit. I hit the furler for the code 0, and it's rolling up fine. I mean, it's a little floppy. Jeff was holding tight, and our first mistake is maybe that we hadn't done this in a long time, and usually I'm the one holding tight and Jeff's doing the furler. So I hadn't done the furler probably in 2 months, and he hadn't done like the hold tight method. So we really should have talked that through, or just switched roles this time since the winds were really high. They were like 20 knots, 15, 20 knots. And so as we were rolling up, he wasn't holding quite enough tension, and so it backwinded and kind of folded on itself, which is not a huge deal. Like it's wrinkled, it's not too bad. And we talked about it after. We both thought like, we should just leave it.
In hindsight, it would have been okay, and we could have sorted it out later, and it would have been better to leave it. But I figured, we can just fix it quick, and I'll have Lori let a little bit of line out, or unfurl a little bit, and then so we can fix it and then refurl.
In that moment, my mind just went blank. I'm like, how do I loosen this backwards? Like, how do I get the ropes around there? Because it's a slightly more complicated system than just a straight winch. So he yelled across to me like, hey, take it off the winch. I'm like, okay, I'm taking it off the winch. He's like, okay, let it out. And I was like, it's locked. Like, it has a lock in one direction. He's like, okay, let the lock loose. So I let the lock loose, and And I had forgotten, this is my fault, this was my mistake, that you still needed to keep some tension on it as you're letting it out, just the way that the furler thing works. So I let go, and so the sail whipped out, like completely whipped out. And I was like, oh crap, oh no, what did I do? What just happened?
Once it got loose, the whole sail just unfurled again. And so at that point, we wanted to have, I was going to go over to take over furling the sail because I was more used to it, and Lori would take over at the helm. So we swapped spots.
I ran over to the helm, I took over, and he's like, point it to the wind, point it to the wind. And that was my desperate struggle to try to get us into the wind, because we're still running, really only on our starboard engine. The way the current was pushing us sort of into the jetty, and the direction of the waves and everything, I had it fully over to the starboard side, and she was just not turning, because I'm turning us into the wind. I didn't want to spin us around because I didn't know what was going on in the front over there, if that would cause more problems. And at that point I was like desperately, and I was gunning it, trying to turn us, but I couldn't turn us and go forward because there was an underwater jetty about 300-400 yards in front of us, so I couldn't try to get too much speed and go forward because we would run aground.
And I went over to start furling in the line, and it furled in about 3 feet, and then the furling line snapped, and I was so, oh crap, because once that furling line, you have this big powerful sail in heavy winds. It was probably, with the winds and waves being heavier than we were expecting that day, the wind was still probably going about 20 knots or so behind us as we were going into this inlet, and the sail was away, and then it was unfurled again, and so we have this big powerful sail with no way to close it up, so we couldn't furl it up anymore.
I keep trying to get us into the wind, and I just see Jeff running around with ropes and pulleys and things. And at that point, I hadn't realized that the furling line had snapped. I thought just something, I didn't know what I thought at that point. I was just like, why can't he furl it in? Something's wrong up there. I don't know what it is, but he's not able to get the sail in anymore. And I didn't know until we debriefed after that the furling line had actually snapped. And
so then we had to get it down somehow. And so the next thought was to lower the sail from the main halyard, the spinnaker halyard.
And he came around tied to the helm, and he's like, I gotta drop the sail from the top or something.
I got the line free to be able to drop the halyard, and I forgot there was 2 clutches for it. So I did 1 clutch, and it didn't drop at all, and then I remembered there was a second clutch on the mast, and so we went over, I clutched the first one, and then went over and unclutched the mast, and then went back to unclutch the first one, and the line had gotten tangled a little bit, and so it dropped, and only dropped about halfway, and then a big tangle just got caught right in the block, right in the clutch there. And there wasn't any way to lower it anymore. There wasn't any way to raise it up more to untangle it. I was trying to figure out how to get it loose, or how to get this sail down.
And so here's our sail flapping like crazy off the side, halfway down, trying to pull us over on the other side of the jetty, and I'm trying to keep us straight at the helm, but not going too fast because I don't want more wind in there. And after that tangle, he was like, okay, I've got to go up and do something.
And so I went up to the furler at the foot of the sail, and the line that holds the furler was starting to fray a little bit. So I figured if it was fraying, I might as well cut that. So I had a knife on me, and I went up to that. I tightened a longer rope to the furler, so I still have some control on it. And ended up cutting the line going to the foot of the furler. That pulled up, and it pulled up in a way, and so it took a little bit of tension off the sail, but there was so much wind, and with the sail being halfway down and being able to flip around in whichever direction, it didn't matter which direction the boat was facing in, it was still catching a bunch of wind and putting a bunch of pressure on it. And I just couldn't get, and I tried to wrap a line around where the furler was, and wrapped around the sail to try and close the sail up a little bit, and I was able to get a little bit, maybe 5-10 feet up the sail, get it to constrict the sail to make it a little bit smaller, but it wasn't gonna work, and it wasn't gonna close the sail up enough.
It was way too much force. There's still 15-20 knot winds engines catching it. There's like no way. We would probably like 6 people out there trying to pull it in, not just one very strong, very, very brave guy out there trying to pull it in. And so I'm just yelling at him, like, just cut it, just cut it.
And really the only thing left I could think to do at the time was to cut the spinnaker halyard. So I went back to where everything was tangled in the block and ended up using the knife to cut the halyard there, and that dropped the sail.
He gets a knife, he comes, he cuts the halyard, it drops, it really flops to the side of the boat. And I was glad I had the wherewithal before this to even trying to turn into the wind, not to engage the port engine, because I'm like, stuff is happening on that side of the boat. If a rope goes in, if the sail goes in, I do not want that getting tangled in our prop or anything. So the port engine was on, but I was not going to engage it. When he cut that and I saw the sail go off to the side, I just like turned the engine off. I'm like, we're not using this engine. That's too big of a risk.
Sail ended up going down in the water. Head of the sail went in the water. The control line was still on the port side. The line I had tied down to the furler was still tied on, and so it was hanging in the water by those lines. And with that, it ended up hanging on the side rail. The lifelines are actually more like railings. They're kind of a heavier steel bar. And it ended up bending a couple of those and screwing up some of the feet, bending the feet and stuff for the stanchions. Messed that up with all the weight of the water pulling on the lines in the sail into the water.
So at that point, it's only really being held onto the boat by the furling lines, and Jeff, with monumental effort, starts dragging it onto the boat. So at that point, I slowed down a bunch, and I couldn't totally stop because of the current and the wind. So it was harder for him to get it in because I couldn't stop without putting us at that point in any danger. So we had to go a few minutes further into this inlet to the river till the wind and the current died down enough and we had enough space on either side where it wasn't too shallow that I could just re-engage the autopilot and go help him and slow down enough just to like idle to take a couple minutes and help him get the rest of the sail in.
I went over to where the sail was going in the water and was able to pull and finally ended up getting little by little getting the sail back in the boat. It ended up having a tear in it. Had a tear about 4 feet or so. And the thing was covered in salt water, but I got the thing back in the boat and then just laid in the sail with a pile of sail for a half hour or so while Lori was driving us back up in the ICW and to a safer spot. But it was just so exhausting and so the whole thing was terrifying. That having this big strong sail whipping around and trying to hold on to it and trying to hold on lines for it when the sail was dropping, when that main halyard first dropped and before it got tangled, I was trying to hold on to it so it would drop a little bit more controlled or slow it down a little bit, and ended up getting a bunch of burns, rope burns on my hand doing that, which it wasn't a good idea, but the control line on that side was still wrapped around the winch on that side, and so I didn't have the halyard around the winch, and I figured I was trying to drop it as fast as possible, so I didn't have any wraps on the winch or anything. So but yeah, burned up my hand doing that. I got knocked around by the sail flipping around back and forth, and so bumped and bruised and just exhausted by all this. It was the worst day we've had sailing by far. And we've had a lot of bad days sailing, and we've had a lot of things go wrong, and this was by far the worst day. Hopefully it'll be the worst day we'll ever have, but here's hoping. So
I am so grateful above anything else, because it could have been a lot worse. There was ropes flying everywhere. I mean, the party disconnected was like a big heavy metal thing. And it could have flown and hit him. This whole time I just kind of locked into like focusing on what I needed to do in the moment. And there was this like both he and I, it seemed like, had this weird piece. It's like we both messed up. Like we messed up, but we fixed it. Like it could have been so much worse. And so my gratitude, I think, has overcome any like like I have more PTSD from our anchoring than I had from this. I think Jeff might be the opposite. I have more PTSD from anchoring in shallow water and 20 knot winds than this whole thing, because I felt like even though things kept going wrong, we like worked really well as a team, and we didn't totally lose our sail. Like we could have run aground, we could have bashed out windows, Jeff could have gotten way more hurt, but it actually, for as awful as the situation was, as a snapped furler and a tangled halyard or whatever it was, could have been, it turned out a lot better.
So we finally got into Charleston the next day, and we got the boat all, and we got in the marina here, so we were just done with everything, and needed a break from all this. So we got the boat in and the boat secured, and then the next day we wanted to get the sail all cleaned out, because this thing, we basically wrapped it up. It was all covered in salt water when we rigged in the boat, and then we just stuffed it into a sail bag later that night. So it was all covered in salt water and stuffed in the sail bag. And we wanted to be able to get it cleaned up, because we were going to take it to a sail loft to have them take a look at it to see if there's anything they could do with it. We were both just thinking that sail bags are kind of like body bags.
I was thinking, we thought the pumpkin muffins were bad.
We about pumpkin muffin ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where we're at. We got here along one of the radials of the clue. And then it's got that other smaller spot there. The rest of it doesn't look too terrible here. Alright, so we got some sprayers, some vinegar, and some water. So we're working on cleaning up and drying it out and roll it up to be able to bring to a sail off for them to take a look at it, and hopefully I can get the sail repaired and back up and running.
Sail is packed up and in its body bag, and we cleaned it, and we're heading to Florida now to hopefully fix that. Although we just put our jib out on our way to Florida and realized that some of the lines actually burned the jib a little bit, so that's not great. But everything here is fixable. Not the greatest thing budget-wise or whatnot, and we were pretty exhausted mentally and physically for a few days after. But yeah, I just think overall there was, I just can't get over how I'm just feeling grateful and learned a lot from this of what to do and what not to do, and how to respond in emergency situations like this with a snap furling line and tangled jib. And Jeff did amazing. I think that's about it.